What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Dirty Mike, and today we are back into action with another tutorial. And I've talked about executing the low cross or the driven pass, and now we're looking at the early cross, which might be my favorite variation in terms of crossing. And I'm going to do the ultimate crossing tutorial as well, where we incorporate some other techniques. And there is a common misconception in the community where people believe that crossing is random. And it's because you meet some people online that literally, they don't know what they're doing. They're just whipping in cross after cross and abusing the wings. But then in the higher divisions in FUT Champions, there's a lot of people that absolutely know what they're looking for, what they want to put together. They have a plan to their attack. It is not random. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you enjoy it, make sure to drop a thumbs up. Also in the comments down below, what tutorial do you need to see next? Do you have any questions about crossing? Let me hook it up for you, my friends. Just before we get started, if you guys need any cheat codes, games, pre-orders, as you can see, I've got the G2A kit on right now. Make sure to go down below in the description, hit that link one time, use Dirty at checkout, get that hookup. Let's get started with controls. And the early cross, whether you're on the PlayStation or the Xbox, you're going to use the typical crossing command, which would be X on the Xbox and square if you're on the PlayStation, and then you're holding the LB trigger. That's going to be your modifier as we get into the first freeze frame, the first bit of examples. And there's four just areas about the early cross that I want to talk about. Number one, is your offensive player, does he have his arm extended? Is his arm out? This also is relevant towards through balls, and a lot of people don't notice that the offensive player will tell you when he's making the run, that we're on the same page. And that allows you to connect at a much higher rate. And remember, eliminating randomness. And you may have to trigger this run, which is just hitting that LB. We're all very much so aware that you have to trigger runs when playing FIFA. And if not, if you didn't know that that could be something that you're missing with crossing, bam, here you go. Then with any sort of cross, angling is relevant, where you're looking at the trajectory of the cross. If you've played a lot of football, this won't be that hard for you. And you got to make sure that the guy that's in swinging that cross has the correct angle. You can't have your back facing this way and try to do a 360 cross that way. It's not going to work. And that makes a lot of logical sense. And last up, applying the modifier, which just means holding that LB or the L1 trigger, depending on platform, and you are back into business. Good things are going to happen. And I know it's a longer bit of freeze frames. I got a few different examples that I just think will help you get the vision. Because that's a crucial part of scoring the early cross, is having the vision. And that's where you're eliminating, once again, I keep this on repeat, the randomness of the early cross. And making it more so something that's efficient, that's effective. And you know what you're looking for. It's not just, I've got Ibra running into the box. I've got Diego Costa running into the box. Speaking of Ibra. Second freeze frame. Now look for similarities. Those first four that I mentioned, that's always going to be your bread and butter. Your mashed potatoes and gravy, your cinnamon toast crunch with milk, and then you drink the milk. You guys know I love cinnamon toast crunch. My number one cereal. In fact, in the comments, give me your top three cereals. So right now, totally off base, is cinnamon toast crunch. I'm going to go with Apple Jacks at number 2. And then number 3 is going to be a little bit of a mix-up. I got a lot of love for honeycomb. I grew up on it. So I'm looking forward to your responses. I realize it's a tutorial and that has nothing to do with it, but it's on my mind and we're talking about it. Just another example, Ibra's got that arm extended. You see that? And whenever Ibra, out of all strikers, has his arm out there and he's telling you feed him, please, let him eat for breakfast. Let him have a snack. Let him have that big lunch, whatever he wants. Maybe a brunch session. Or a big-time dinner before he passes out. Ibra's going to finish, is what I'm trying to say. And one of his largest issues in FIFA 17 is positioning. So if he's got that arm extended, he's telling you, look, I'm going to make this run for you. All you got to do is put it into the box, and I've got your back. As we have our last example, and I just think it's really good 1-2 play down the line. We've got Kevin De Bruyne. This actually happened at FUT Champs live on stream. The arm is still raised. I realize the positioning here looks kind of strange. You're sitting there like, Mike, come on, man. There's so much space ahead of him. And that's the beauty of the early cross. There's a certain amount of anticipation. And I typically am looking at using about 50 to 75% power. I like to hover just above 50 for the most part. It seems like that's an effective area. And I need you guys to jot that down. Get ready for it. But you're going to see that our oncoming striker, he's going to he's going to make that run for you. And then the defender's not ready. He kind of switches off. And it's also important with finishing, anytime you're using crosses, to understand, can you hit that first time? Do you need to chest it down? Where do you want to angle your finish? I'm going to put out, I think, an updated finishing video, which will be my 3rd finishing video of the year. But it's always relevant. You've got to take your chances. I know I talk about composure, and I talk about being clinical, and I can keep talking about it because it's just relevant to every single FIFA installment. And you're going to see this whipped in cross. Nothing special in terms of different angles. Remember, we're just making sure we have that typical in-swinger and that we're not putting ourselves in a position where it just looks awkward. We take the touch. Beautiful goal. I appreciate that, Martial, making me look good. But if you enjoyed the content, please drop a thumbs up. I have a lot more coming for you guys ASAP. And I will probably have a couple tutorials over the weekend as well.